Okay, I have a few things to say before we start. Number one, this is all me. This is all me. I'm portrayed as the characters are portrayed as me. Number two, I broke my sister's iPad while recording this, and that was the secondary source so I could sync up my clips. So, this little guy will be filling in for the last person. Number three, some of the times the clips will just cut out. I will voice over when what should be said then. Like I said, the iPad broke, so I couldn't really help that. Okay, bye, love you. Ryman President was recorded in front of a dead audience.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Power and Precedent. Before we start, a word from our sponsors, LordVPN, where you can get the Wi-Fi of a medieval lord for the price of a hat. Thank you. Now, imagine a world where guns and other firearms were allowed in schools. It sounds terrible, I know, but it wasn't until 1990 when these terrible tools were outlawed in schools. Now, there was a case with a Texas senior in high school who won the case and escaped punishment because the law was determined unconstitutional. Now, this was a very fundamental case in everything else that went on with lawmaking and such. So I'm excited to talk about it tonight.
Wow, that's crazy. Nowadays, you can't even bring something sharp into school, let alone a gun. So what actually happened here, Will?
Well, in 1990, the Gun-Free School Zones Act was passed, making sure that guns were not allowed to be carried onto school property.
Keeping our kids safe. I like it.
Yeah, but the way the law was passed was really sketchy, meaning after a lot of consideration, it was actually declared unconstitutional. Why? Wouldn't everyone want their kids to be safer? I'm glad you asked. During the 20th century, there was a clause in the Constitution called the Commerce Clause. This allowed Congress to create laws that would help the economic trade between states and, make the economy thrive. Unfortunately, this clause was abused very heavily to give the federal government more power to do the things it shouldn't have been able to do, like now.
Oh no.
Wait, this all sounds really vague. Were there sort of any, limitations to this, or could Congress just go as they pleased? As surprising as it may seem, there weren't many limitations for this.
That's probably why this case existed in the first
Right.
place.
As you said, this clause was very vague, meaning you could stretch almost anything to be dealing with the economy. Imagine this. Imagine if our area had an underage drinking problem. Now, if we didn't want to go through the process of creating laws that would have people enforce stopping underage drinking, that's grammatically correct, I think, then we could use the Commerce Clause. We could argue that underage drinking leads to more premature deaths, and more premature deaths leads to the economy being hurt because there are less educated people growing up. See how far this could be stretched, see how all of this could have taken place.
Wow, so you could relate anything to the Commerce Clause to make it into a law? Pretty much. Wait, what does the Commerce Clause have to do with the case?
The Commerce Clause was actually what allowed the GFSZA to be passed into law. Congress needed a way to remove guns from schools, so they tied it to the economy. They said that having guns in schools provided a disruption for learning, and if kids weren't learning to their best, they were not growing up to be their best economically improving selves.
That makes so much sense. But how did this lead to a Supreme Court case?
In Texas, there was a senior in high school who brought a gun to school with 5 bullets.
That sounds awful. And he was let go without repercussions?
He said he only intended to sell it and was never going to use it.
Still. Well, his lawyers made the argument that the GFSZA Act was unconstitutional, which made it void. So that's how it ended up becoming a Supreme Court case. You're telling me that a teenage boy who got caught with a deadly firearm and bullets was let off with no repercussions because the law that prohibited that was deemed unconstitutionally passed?
Basically, Congress argued that it did count because using guns would disrupt travel and tourism, and the economy would be messed up because of that. Eventually, after much consideration, the justices found that the GFSZA was unconstitutional, and Lopez won the case.
Wow, I wonder how that affected the federal government. Given how big their ego is, I'd say they're in pretty rough shape.
Basically, Congress had been using this to gain power slowly for over 100 years. After this case was finally finished, it allowed for the justices and the government to really see what was going on, and they slowly but surely made sure Congress didn't have this much power anymore. But that's more for another day.
And what perfect timing. That looks like it's all our time for today.
Anyways, bye everybody. Thank you for tuning in.